これを。
ちょっと待って、それはダメ。
何する？
ダメダメ、無理無理。
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Today we will talk about Dungeon Meshi, Delicious in the Dungeon by Studio Trigger. What are your thoughts?
While it wasn't necessarily something I was like invested in it, I was very interested in seeing. And I had not known at the time it was done by Studio Trigger. Like that kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Studio Trigger's catalog, they usually have very distinct kind of over the top action stuff or something that has a unique visual look to it. So for them to take this IP was kind of shocking. And I think they did a fairly good job at translating the manga over into the anime. And so, yeah, what about you? What did you think about this?
So I think that there's a bunch of auteurs like Amamiya in the Quad S universe, and then you have like Yoshinari. You have a lot of these big auteur directors in the studio, and they each have their own distinctive style. What was most disappointing to me is that this feels very normal. It reminds me a lot of the Chunibyo superpower battle shonen that they did. It's so like normal and average, which is not what I would expect from Studio Trigger. Maybe I feel my opinion is colored because I have higher expectations from Studio Trigger. Yeah, but it just feels fine.
So that's why I was like very shocked when I saw that Studio Trigger logo in the opening. Yeah, and while I agree they can't really do too much to make this IP crazy. I think they've done enough to still make it visually interesting. Yeah, and it's clear that I think that they have a lot of respect and passion for this IP. And so it doesn't feel as like phoned in as that Chunibyo one.
You come to expect certain things of certain studios. And again, this is not one of these big directors, or I would say in Studio Trigger. Yeah. It comes with the fantasy like negative like
for you.
So you don't. And I think also the fact that one of the best shows of this year and maybe of like this decade is Free Ren, which is a fantasy show. And so the bar is so high already for Free Ren that this just feels like okay. Well, like maybe if this came before Free Ren, I'd be like digging it more. But
it's a very different type of show from
Free
Ren. So,
I agree. But I'm just saying that Free Ren set the bar of what a fantasy anime should be. That this one seems like it's a really solid. It's like a solid 7 right now. You know, it's something that I'll probably finish. But will I remember this in 10 years? I don't know if that.
For me, I think this show is pretty unique in its whole aspect of a cooking show with like a fantasy aspect and like creating these recognizable dishes but using weird monsters and creatures. I think the world building is pretty.
But is that on Trigger or is that on the manga?
I think it's on the manga,
which is another reason. You see my point, then, right?
Yeah, but like I said, Trigger, they can't do too much to change it from the manga because again, it's a fantasy series. They can't do like crazy mechs or anything to really make it their own. But I think they have done a good job in showing like this beautiful, weird world and this unique biome in the dungeons. And I think the way the dungeon and all these weird fantasy creatures and how they interact with each other is quite fascinating. The third episode with the moving armor, that is a really unique take on living armor, which is a common enemy in like fantasy video games and stuff, and how it kind of looks like shellfish. And same thing with the scorpion, how that looks like lobster. So like the way they connect this weird fantasy thing with things that we can recognize, I think is really well done. And again, that's mostly on the talent of the original writer. But the way Trigger has adapted it and shown
they didn't get in the way, essentially.
It didn't get in the way, yeah. So I think this is a really nice take on the weird fantasy genre. Or like a weird niche of a fantasy genre of like a cooking thing.
I do think it's going in a unique place. I just don't think any of the characters are standouts also.
For me, it's not necessarily that they're amazing, mind-blowing. Yeah. Like I said, the definitely the one that everyone knows is Marcel because of her reactions. But I do think that they've done a good job at establishing who all these characters are.
I feel like I'm the opposite. I feel like sure, we've gotten episodes already to like, oh, this is the trap guys thing, or this is how the dwarf cook does things, or we've gotten enough backstory where I can say that the characters seem very fine.
Yeah,
right? I
serviceable.
can't complain about them, but it's not like they're great. So for me, it's like a middling cast, a middling type setting, and a middling visual show to me, which is not bad.
Yeah.
I think when people hear middling, because people throw the word mid around as if it's like
An insult. Yeah.
Which is not the case.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's just fine. It's average.
Yeah, it's like
there has to be things that are average.
Yeah,
If you don't watch average things, you can't appreciate the good things.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like if someone says it's vanilla. Vanilla's a dope flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not saying it's bad.
No,
it's
I get
just
that.
Fine.
Yeah, and
right?
I do agree. This show is not anything spectacular.
Yeah.
It's just a good execution of what it's trying to be.
Yeah.
And I agree, because like I said, the manga didn't really grasp me at that time. Yeah. But I think as an anime, with the added elements of the voice acting and the animation and all that, it is made up for the shortcomings of the manga for me.
You can tell that it's something like, for example, I think Asobi Asabase, where the voice acting really adds to it, right? Whatever the elf's name is,
Marcel.
Her like reactions are what really popularized the manga.
Yeah.
I do think adding the elements of voice acting to it just will enhance the
yes,
right?
This is definitely something I'm gonna watch to the end.
Yeah, I will too.
But I agree. So far this is not screaming Studio Trigger. This is not screaming like must see. This is not free run.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
So I agree. It's not amazing, but it's definitely an enjoyable show. And if you are a fan of cooking shows, or you're a fan of just the fantasy adventure genre, I think this is right up your alley. I would highly recommend it if you're that. But if you're like Kurt and you're not a fan of fantasy, or you're not a fan of just tropes in general, then this isn't going to change your mind.
Yeah, it's not going to change your... I like I said, I'm going to watch the whole show, most likely. And I don't watch that many shows through, right?
Yeah,
I feel like it has to be at least pretty decent just for me to be like, yes, I'm completing the show, right? So I'm not saying you know, I know it seems like it comes off that I'm like, oh yeah, I don't enjoy it. That's not the case. I'm having an okay time. I just think that a decade from now, will I remember too much about the show? Probably not. Do I regret watching it? Probably no, not so far, right? And I don't think I'll regret after I finish it. I won't be like, well, that's 3 hours I won't get back, right? It's fine, right?
Yeah.
It's a great show that you'll pass your time. It's funny enough. The characters are compelling enough. Yeah. Like the setting is good enough, right? Yeah. And so there has to be shows like that. Yeah. It's as simple as that, right? Yeah. And not every show is going to be some spectacular mind-bending thing, right? And that's okay. Yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the show. So I don't... End of the story? Yeah, watch it.
Yeah. I agree.
Will it blow your mind? No.
Probably not, yeah.
But, you know... It's a piece of entertainment.
It's a fun show. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, you've reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed our video, consider giving this a like. If you enjoyed hearing us talk, consider subscribing to our channel. And we just want to thank you again